welcome to this edition of News Leader on 6. I'm Jim Puller. In tonight's news, Lunch and Learns have returned to D.W. Wilson Community Center. The Tennessee House passed a bill limiting teachers speaking about racial inequality, and the Soapbox Derby is coming up this weekend. We'll have these stories and more on tonight's News Leader on 6.
Now open in Tullahoma, Parkview Senior Living, an affordable, luxurious retirement community that active seniors love to call home. We encourage a healthy, independent lifestyle with few restrictions. Abundant amenities mean you live burden-free in a beautiful, safe home with other like-minded seniors. Still enjoy friends and family, along with your supplemental healthcare needs. See for yourself how wonderful retirement can be. Tour Parkview Senior Living today.
Hi, I'm Terry Stroop with Stroop's Accurate Refrigeration, your #1 hometown HVAC company. We offer dependable and reliable service on all your HVAC equipment. We also offer high-efficiency trained cooling units. Call us for your cooling needs. Your comfort is what we do.
It's summer, call Stroop.
Welcome back. News Leader's John Gray recently spoke with Tullahoma Parks and Recreation Director Lyle Russell about this weekend's Soapbox Derby.
Soapbox Derby is this weekend. This is our 21st year of doing Soapbox Derby. And this is the first year we have a second generation racer. We have somebody who raced early on, and now their son is racing.
That's great.
In the race. So that's going to be this weekend. So just remember that Lincoln Street will be closed from Jackson down to Collins Street.
And when does that start?
Ooh, we get there at about 3:30 in the morning, but the race will start right at 7, and we do encourage people to come out, even if you don't have a racer in the race, come out and watch and see how it goes, or if you have a young racer that is interested, bring them out, let them see how it works the first year, and then maybe next year they might want to race.
And about how long, when does it usually end, Lyle?
That depends on how many racers, and the weather plays a role, but noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in that vicinity. So. But yeah, we're looking forward to a good time. We've got 30 drivers this year, so they'll be rolling down.
Is that better or worse or about the same?
It varies. It bounces around in that 25 to 40 range. So 30 drivers, I'll take it.
That's good.
Yeah, I'll take it. And so all the kids we saw most of them last night on the first night of car builds, and they were all excited. So we're looking forward to it. So happy to be able to be doing programs and getting people outside again.
Well, let me ask a question. You said during car build.
Yes.
How many days do they have to build that car?
So we have 4 days, Monday to Thursday.
Okay. And that's done in a specific location where they're being viewed?
Yes, at CD Stamps. Yep, at CD Stamps.
To make sure...
Well, the car has to be safe, #1.
Right.
And then it has to meet all the criteria for Soapbox Derby. It has to weigh the right amount. It has to have the correct bushings, nuts, bolts, weights.
Right.
There's a lot of technical aspects to it. It's a great STEM activity that you actually get to drive around in after you build it. So, and the youth build these cars. I mean, we're there to assist, and the parents are there to assist, but the drivers are actually the ones that build these.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So they do the painting and the decaling and all of that stuff?
Some of that, yeah. Some of that's done already. We have some city-owned cars that we let people use, and they'll put their names and if they have a sponsor or something like that, they'll put the stickers on the car. But most of them are already painted and numbered, and they just get to do the fun stuff.
Right.
And we'll be right back after these messages.
Clayton's has been Tullahoma's shoe store for over 120 years, and Florence Hall continues that tradition today. We're the only shoe store in town that starts with measuring your foot to make sure you get the perfect fit in a quality shoe. That includes narrow through wide widths for men, women, and children. Clayton Shoes, the family shoe store you'll love.
We're gonna fit your style. We're gonna make you smile. Service and quality at Clayton Shoe Store. We're gonna fit your style.
The individuals with dementia, those with Parkinson's, those that have maybe mobility issues, need caregivers. Well, those caregivers are 24 hours a day at home, and they never get a rest. And if they have to go to work, they're kind of out of luck. So that's why Trinity came into existence 25 years ago, to allow the caregivers to have a safe center where they could put their loved ones, know they would be well cared for, stimulated, fed good, nutritious meals, have activities to their level, and then the caregiver can stop by and pick them up and go on home and have some continuity into their life.
Welcome back. Dr. Michael Bradley kicked off the newly revised Lunch and Learn program at D.W. Wilson with a discussion about pandemics and history. In this segment, Dr. Bradley speaks about the yellow fever outbreak in Tennessee.
Dr. John Derek Lindsley is one of the founders of the very widely spread medical profession in Nashville today. He also is very active in compiling records of early Middle Tennessee history. If you do much research on military history, you'll be familiar with the military annals of the state of Tennessee, compiled by John Derek Lindsley, a man of many talents. But in his report to the American Medical Association of 1878, talking about the outbreak of yellow fever that was also occurring in Nashville, he said their attempts to restrict the spread of the disease included employment of a large force of scavengers and all manner of filth, safely movable, has been speedily gotten rid of. Lime, copperas, and coal tar have been used ad libitum for disinfecting or deodorizing every foul spot, creep branch, incurable privy vault, pulp bin, and whatnot. Now, copperas. Are you familiar with copperas? Neither was I. So I did what any decent researcher does today. I Googled it. Copperas is an iron sulfate. Ferrous sulfate it's called. It is a mineral containing large amounts of iron ore and sulfur. It comes in flakes. It's readily dissolvable in water. So if you dissolve ferrous sulfate in water, you have something that smells like rusty nails and sulfur. But that's what they wanted to remember because that would help to mask the odor. And for many people in the 19th century, if it smelled funny, it was medicinal. So they're spreading lime, copperas, and coal tar to mask the odor, and they thought disinfect. Now the lime would be an effective disinfectant to a degree because that would speed up the decomposition of the waste material that would be found in that area. Stink, that infallible index of impure air, and he points out of lazy municipal authorities, was for the time being abolished. The ugliest alley became a not unpleasant highway. But notice the emphasis placed on bad air by one of the leading medical authorities in Tennessee at that time. Other medical doctors said, beats me, I have no idea where this thing comes from. If you go to your doctor today, what does he sometimes tell you? Beats me, I have no idea where this thing comes from. That's why they call it practicing medicine. Since I'm one of the smart ones, not one of the rich ones, I have to get that dig in every now and then. I also like to point out to medical doctors, they were granting doctorate degrees in my field centuries before they granted doctoral degrees in their field. That's another topic for another day. Other medical scientists said they had no idea what caused it. All they knew was it was a deadly killer. But they did not think that it was either contagion or bad air. They all agreed, however, that a mild winter followed by a warm spring was a sure sign of trouble to come. I well remember the old folks in my family, and they included living members of the family at that time when I was born and went as far back as 1850. I remember the old folks in the family saying a warm December makes a full cemetery. So when asked to give this talk, I was not sure where the research would lead me, but I soon found that the yellow fever epidemic of 1878 was one that had the biggest impact. I like to emphasize the word impact literally means, and that's exactly what yellow fever did. It hammered Tennessee. The yellow fever epidemic of 1878 would be the thing to focus on because it would give us a pretty good comparison between what we have experienced in the past and what we have experienced but had simply forgotten there is any kind of connection. I also was suddenly struck by the fact that I had a family connection to the yellow fever epidemic of 1878. Two of my great-grandparents died in that yellow fever epidemic, leaving my grandfather an orphan at the age of 6 weeks. He and his 4 brothers were taken in by one of their grandparents, a man named Perry Pike Powell, who was 68 years old at the time he took in this 6-week-old infant and 4 other young boys. Now, at a time when the average life expectancy was less than 65, he was an old man, particularly taking on the responsibility for a 6-week-old baby. And I would like to say I have more sympathy for his wife than I do for him.
The Tennessee House has approved a bill aimed at limiting what school teachers can say about racial inequality in Tennessee public schools. The measure comes amid a conservative fever over critical race theory, an academic movement that looks at how the law intersects with race, as well as struggles in some school districts over how to address racism. Tennessee Republican House members say discussion of race should be limited to instill a sense of national unity and respect for the nation's founding fathers and not a source of debate. Representative Justice Lafferty, Knoxville Republican, said, quote, "I don't know how we got here. I don't know what we do about it, but talking about changing our history, changing is not the right word. Talking about incorporating another view of history while ignoring the very writings that we have access to is no way to go about it," end quote. The measure is sponsored by State Representative John Reagan, an Oak Ridge Republican, who has previously this year pushed legislation restricting therapies for transgender teens. In years past, he proposed marking the driver's license of immigrants with the word alien. Reagan attached the proposal to an unrelated education bill, number 623, that has already passed the Senate. The proposal would bar any lesson that causes any student discomfort, guilt, anguish, or other form of psychological distress because of their race or sex. That suggests meritocracy is unfair, or that the United States is racist or sexist. Lessons about discriminatory practices from the nation's history, such as Jim Crow, the Chinese Exclusion Act, Manifest Destiny, and slavery, would have to be impartial. To illustrate how he believes American history should be taught, Lafferty challenged lawmakers to write an explanation of the 3/5 clause, the section of the U.S. Constitution that counted enslaved people as less than a full person for census purposes. Lafferty then claimed the clause was an effort by northern states to win Southerners over to the cause of the American Revolution, and its purpose was to weaken Southern states' political power in Congress. In fact, the 3/5 compromise occurred 6 years after fighting in the Revolutionary War ended. Most historians say its purpose was to keep Southern states from pulling out of the 1787 Constitutional Convention by counting slaves for purposes of taxation and representation, even though they had no political rights. Opposition to the measure has been led by black lawmakers who say students need to be taught the correct facts about the nation's history of oppression, even if the conversation might be considered uncomfortable to some in order to move past it. State Representative G.A. Hardaway from Memphis said, quote, "It doesn't matter who you are, the very discussion makes some uncomfortable, but I would tell you there is no way to keep working, and to keep moving forward on that journey towards a more perfect union and achieving freedom for all until we acknowledge the imperfections," end quote. The state Senate has not yet debated the proposal, but could take it up in the final days of the session. More news is coming up in just a moment.
It's not Invoice. It's not MSRP. It's not Christmas Day, although it may feel like it. It's the lowest prices in Middle Tennessee, period. Get to Stan McNabb Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or Stan McNabb Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac before these prices are gone forever.
All right, the cat's out of the bag at Carroll Street Liquor in Tullahoma. Now you know where to go if you're planning a get-together and want the ideal wine or spirit. Party planning can be stressful, but at Carroll Street Liquor you'll find everything you need. Mixers, gift sets, and all of your favorite spirit brands. So if you're feeling the pressure to pull off the ideal party, come to Carroll Street Liquor and select among the seemingly endless supply of wines, spirits, gift sets, and more. Your perfect party, it's in the bag with Carroll Street Liquors.
Welcome back. Former President Donald Trump won't return to Facebook, at least not yet. 4 months after Facebook suspended Trump's accounts for inciting violence that led to the deadly January 6th Capitol riots, the company's oversight board upheld the bans, but it told Facebook to specify how long they would last, saying that its indefinite plan on the former president was unreasonable. The ruling, which gives Facebook 6 months to comply, effectively postpones any possible Trump reinstatement and puts the onus for the decisions squarely back on the company. That could leave Facebook in the worst of all possible situations, one in which Trump's supporters remain enraged over the bans, his critics pushing for broader social media regulation, and the company stuck with a momentous issue it clearly hoped the Oversight Board would resolve. The decision only kicks the can down the road, said Jonathan Greenblatt, the head of the Anti-Defamation League, who said it's highlighted the need for greater government oversight of social platforms. In a statement, Trump did not address the decision directly, but said that actions by Facebook, Twitter, and Google are a total disgrace and an embarrassment to our country, and added that these corrupt social media companies must pay a political price. The board agreed with Facebook that two of Trump's January 6 posts severely violated the content standards of both Facebook and Instagram by praising or supporting people enraged in violence, the board said, warranting this suspension. But it insisted that the company needed to take, or rather the board, which has 20 members, did not reveal how it voted on Trump's suspension. It said a minority of members emphasized that Facebook should require users who seek reinstatement after being suspended to recognize their wrongdoing and commit to observing the rules of the future. The decision has implications not only for Trump, but for tech companies, world leaders, and people across the political spectrum, many of whom have widely conflicting views of the proper role for technology companies when it comes to regulating online speech and protecting people from abuse and misinformation. A day before the Oversight Board's decision was announced, Trump unveiled a blog on his personal website called From the Desk of Donald J. Trump. While the page includes a dramatic video claiming a beacon of freedom arises and hailing a place to speak freely and safely, the page is really little more than a display of Trump's recent statements that can be easily shared on Facebook and Twitter, the platforms that banished him from the riot. Or rather after the riot. Barred from social media, Trump has embraced other platforms for getting his messages out. He does frequent interviews with friendly news outlets and has emailed a flurry of statements to reporters through his official office and political group. Trump has even said he prefers the statements to his old tweets, often describing them as more elegant. We'll be right back in a moment with more news after this.
My husband was diagnosed with a spinal infection. He lost his ability to swallow and the movement of his legs.
I couldn't turn over in bed, I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat.
They were just wonderful in the treatment and care they gave my husband.
I regained my mobility where I was able to go home.
It is miraculous.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Hello, I'm Ray Noyes, and as Mayor of Tullahoma, I'm strongly urging all of our citizens to follow the guidelines of CDC in helping control this virus, COVID-19. But I'm especially advising all of us to wear face coverings or masks anytime we're in a social setting where we can't maintain a distance of 6 feet or more. So be kind to your neighbor. Wear your mask.
Welcome back. With spring finally coming to the area, the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency has put together this video series about about water safety, specifically around the Duck River.
Hey guys, Ranger Jesse Jewell here at Henry Horton State Park. So today we're down here at the Duck River, and I wanted to talk to y'all a minute about river safety and how you can, on your next trip, be safer and have more fun with your family and friends. So hang around for that. All right, like I said in the intro, we're going to be talking about river safety. So one thing I do whenever I go to the river is I kind of follow a 5-tip process. These by no means are end-all be-all, and you should research it for yourself as well and gain more knowledge as you go along. But these will be 5 tips that can kind of help you as you go to the river next time. So the most important part to me is the number 1 tip that we're going to go over today is planning and preparation. A lot of that is researching the area before you go, checking weather patterns, knowing the water levels. All this can be found out usually online, but you can also access the knowledge of locals, such as park rangers in the area, commercial outfitters if there's kayaking on that section. So definitely utilizing those people, look them up, find them. But a lot of times when you have kind of figured out the section of river you wanted to come to, whether that is swimming or kayaking, you can a lot of times find these kiosks right at the river access. So here at the park at Henry Horton, we have this one that kind of gives you a better idea of what you're looking at and kind of some information on the ecology and stuff of the water so you can better enjoy your time while you're here. A lot of times though, we'll have maps on here, and you can access these maps too online. A lot of times TWRA in the state of Tennessee or whatever your wildlife management is for your state. So just accessing those resources can help you plan for your next trip. And then we also, in that planning stage, you want to look at your gear, kind of boats, everything you're going to take with you. All right, so like I said, we're gonna go over 5 tips that I use whenever I plan my trips. This is gonna be number 2, and it's gonna be the gear that you're gonna take with you. We kind of discussed it in number 1, but I thought it deserved its own section. So the first things we're gonna talk about is, let's say you're coming to the river and you wanna do a kayaking trip with your family. Here in the Duck River, it's relatively calm water, class 1, flat water. So picking the right boat can make your experience much more enjoyable and safer. So we have 2 boats in front of me right here. We have a Jackson Riviera and a Jackson All-Star. These are both great boats, made by the same company, a lot of the same materials, but the only difference is one's made for whitewater and play boating, or getting actually enjoying the whitewater a different way. This is designed to track better in the water, so keep going straight down the river on flat sections of water. The way the boats are designed, the hulls are designed differently to do different things. So understanding how boats work can help you and your family and friends enjoy the river more. So just be aware of that when you do decide to come to the river. Look at local outfitters and see what they're using. Everybody on the Duck River here, including the state parks, a lot of us use these Jackson Rivieras. They're sit-on-top boats. They're very easy to control, very easy for beginners, to experienced kayakers to control. So definitely finding something that works for you will help out in the future. So continuing on discussing gear, we've talked about the boats. I'm going to move on to footwear. This is probably another very important aspect of playing in the river. Whether you are swimming or on a boat, having the proper footwear will change the whole day and how things go. So what I have in front of me, I have 3 different types of shoes. These are Astrals. They are water shoes designed. They look like tennis shoes, but they have very good grip on the bottom. They are sturdy, so when you're walking across rocks and in the water, you don't kind of feel unstable, so it keeps you from moving around a lot in the water, or things moving under you. You're able to keep your footing a lot better. Same thing, I'm not as crazy about open-toed shoes like Chacos, but this company designs them very well and they're very sturdy. So if you do decide to wear some sort of sandal, making sure that sole is very rigid will help out a lot too. And then just regular water shoes, kind of like booties, anything like that, you can get at Walmart. Even though those aren't necessarily the best in the world, they will kind of protect your feet and keep you from cutting them on things in the river or just giving you a little extra protection. One thing I do want to discuss when it comes to footwear is things that we probably all wear when we go down the river, but may not necessarily be the best thing for you, and those are Crocs. I love them, I have a pair, they're great, but if you look over time, they start wearing off. So if you try to walk down even our boat ramp here, you're probably gonna fall and end up injuring yourself. And they just don't stay on your feet very much. You've probably noticed it when you've gone out with your friends and family on the water and people lose their sandals if they're wearing flip-flops, things like that. So making sure you have the right footwear that's gonna stay on your feet will help out, kind of keep things safer. The next step in planning your gear is what kind of clothes you're gonna wear when you come to the river. A lot of times you're just gonna wear a bathing suit and a cotton t-shirt. And that may be okay for if you're just going down to play in the water and it's a nice summer hot day. But if you decide to maybe get on a boat in October when the weather is not so desirable, maybe a rainy day, it may have started out sunny, but now the clouds have rolled in and it's raining. Having certain gear with you can kind of help you be more comfortable and be safer so that you don't have issues with hypothermia or just having that uncomfortable wanting to get out of the situation. So in front of me I have a couple of different materials. Things that are good for water: neoprene, polyester. These are things that will wick water away from your body and keep you warmer longer. We also have a couple of dry suits and dry tops. This right here is a splash jacket, so it's not gonna necessarily keep you completely dry, but it's gonna repel some of that water. So as you're splashing around and getting wet, even by the rain, that's not gonna sit on your skin and just kind of fester around and make it uncomfortable. The neoprene, they make them in different sizes, different layers, so that you can find what's comfortable for you in keeping your body warm while out on the water. So when you do plan your next trip, go to the store, go to Walmart sells stuff that can work better than cotton. So definitely check that out. And then next we'll go into some other gear that we're going to take along the way.
Stay with us, your weather forecast is coming up next.
Now open in Tullahoma, Parkview Senior Living, an affordable, luxurious retirement community that active seniors love to call home. We encourage a healthy, independent lifestyle with few restrictions. Abundant amenities mean you live burden-free in a beautiful, safe home with other like-minded seniors. Still enjoy friends and family, along with your supplemental healthcare needs. See for yourself how wonderful retirement can be. Tour Parkview Senior Living today.
We're losing it, Doctor.
Not on my shift. Quickly, brush. Roller.
What a transformation. It's got to be okay.
Okay, nothing.
At Paintworks of Tullahoma, we specialize in domestic emergencies with Martin Senior Paints. You can be the paint doctor, too, when you treat your home with Martin Senior interior and exterior finishes.
Doctor, we've got another one.
Got you covered.
Paintworks of Tullahoma. Come see the paint doctor, Stat.
Welcome back. We'll take a look at your weather forecast at this time, starting with your weather history on this day. Our record high was in 1952 at 91 degrees. The record low was in 1968 at 35. Average high on this day is 75, and the average low is 53. Cloudy with a chance of rain expected tonight with a low of 44. Sunny weather in the forecast for Friday with a high of 73 and a low of 46, and a 30% chance of rain expected on Saturday with a high of 76 and a low of 53. Record high on this day was in 1952 at 89 degrees. The record low was in 1906 at 33. Average high on this day is 76 and the average low is 53. And that's our news leader report for this evening. We invite you to join us each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 6, 8, and 10 for News Leader on 6. You have a good evening.